Okay, Debbie, if you'd like to introduce our speaker and we can get started.
Well, this is Josh from the Peoria County GIS down at the courthouse, and he is the go-to guy that I always call when I have a question about an address, and he seems to have all the answers. So thank you, Josh, for coming and teaching our class today, and looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I thought I would go ahead and just start with the supervisor assessments page and just kind of do like a quick little overview of how different places you can access the front desk application. And so I know a lot of people access it. There's some links here right on the supervisor assessments department webpage through Peoria County. And if you go to the website here, as soon as you go to the Peoria County page, they have like departments, and then you can just go right here and click on supervisor assessments. And then once you get to that page, they have a section right here for the front desk application that explains what it is, and it has a hyperlink how to get to it. And I think they had another link. Maybe there wasn't a link there, but if you click right on that, it takes you to this page. And it just explains a little bit about what you can do with it. Searching property tax information, comparable sales, assessment information. And then it just tells you here, you can, as long as you have an internet connection, internet browser all set up, you can access it right here just by simply clicking this link. And so they got a place here and here that takes you to it. And then here's the training guide. I think this actually, I was looking at it just a little bit ago. It looks like it has like a little bit of an older version of a training guide for it, but for the most part, it's all pretty, not a whole lot's really changed. So it's pretty accurate. But so this is one place you can access it. Another place to access the application is if you access the Peoria County webpage when you first go into it. Right on the main page there's a GIS data and maps section. And if you click right on that button, it'll take you right to our main GIS page. And GIS stands for Geographic Information System. So that's what we do is basically you just take data and you put it into this format that makes it visual. And that's essentially what the front desk application is a perfect example. So all those features you see in there, the parcel boundaries, and the data that you see that comes up from the pop-ups, and when you search, that's all pulling GIS data sets. And so this is our page so we have a whole bunch of different applications on here, which goes beyond the front desk application and just property tax information. So like here we have a dashboard that covers a summary of COVID-19 cases and tests in the county. And then we have different little charts and tables of the cases and tests, and so there's a whole bunch of different things on that. We have popular content. I try to focus on the popular apps that we have and post these on here. And so the front desk app, you can actually access it right here as well. And I just put a little description in here so people know what it is before they click on it. And then we also have other applications that you can view, such as polling places. If you want to know where your polling place is, maybe it's somebody new that moved in the area and they just want to see that information. You can go to this one and search, search by address and find your nearest polling place. And then we have an opioid awareness website that has some different applications on there to learn more about, finding treatment centers. There's an application on there where you can locate the nearest treatment center from your address, and it gives you all the contact information and just a lot of awareness stuff on there on the opioid crisis. And then tax districts is another one if you want to look up to see what you're paying into for your tax bill. So that's another thing. And then just go through this shortly, but we have I broke this down by areas or categories. So if there's any particular applications where you want to view features and information, I kind of broke it down by category. So like community related apps, you can go in here and find something on City Elmwood. You can see their zoning boundaries, for example, or it's just a whole variety of different things. If you want to know like the county or city of Peoria, county board district boundaries or city council district boundaries, you can view those in this application. So feel free to view all that when you have time. So there's I'm not going to go through all of it since there's so much, but I just thought I'd at least, mention it. some of the stuff we have there. And of course, some people like to also search for data, so you can search for apps or data on here. So like some people like to download data sets, like GIS data sets or a spreadsheet to use, to use for their GIS software, or they just want a spreadsheet of the data to view some information. So you can search that on here and download it. And then we also have downloadable maps and forms. So like if there's any, for example, county board district maps, we have a whole set of those in PDF format that you can easily click on and just download those. And so we have one for each boundary or each district in the county. And so we have a lot of those maps out there. And then this is just other ways to get to the same data, same maps and data. So these are just little shortcuts. And then of course our contact information is down here at the bottom. So anyways, I'll just go ahead and start right into the application. So yeah, you can simply access the front desk app by just clicking on the land records app here. And then when you first get into it, you'll see like a disclaimer. And you could easily, after you're done reading it, you can just easily close by either clicking on the X or just clicking off to the side, and they'll close it. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of go into the tools. And then if we have some time later, I can go through and try to answer some questions as well. So the first thing is, I think probably easiest to go through first would just be to go through all the different buttons we have. So we have really like 3 toolbars here. So we have one up here at the top. So this has your search function called the quick search, which is also the same button here. And then, so quick search, you can search your parcel numbers. So if you happen to know the parcel number or an address, you can search for those right into that search box. And I'll go into that in more detail. The identify tool, that is exactly what it sounds like. So if you see something on the map, a feature on the map, and you want to know some more information about it, you just simply click the identify tool and then click on that feature on the map, and then it brings up a pop-up window that has the information about that feature, whether it's a parcel boundary or zoning boundary or something like that. And then we also have a street view, which is if you've ever used Google Street View, that's what this is. And it's a pretty handy tool. And I'll go into that one too later. And then we have a community info tool, which is similar to identify. You just click this button and then you click on that property or other feature on there, and it pulls information. So if you can imagine any data that we have that intersects that parcel, for example, it's going to pull that and give you all the information for that point that you clicked on the map. And then we also have a button called map layers. And so the way I broke that down is we have, I call them folders. And so we have like a land records folder, administrative, elections. I just tried to break them all down by category. Tax districts for any kind of tax district information and boundaries. Community for community related stuff, property sales. And then I have aerials after that. So these are all broken down by year. And so our last photo acquisition was in spring leaf off in 2019. So that would have been March, early April when we did the flight. So that's our latest imagery I have right now. And then other archived photos we have is 2015, 2011, 2008. And it goes all the way down to 1939, which we got that from the state of Illinois. They had an archive of that, and we were able to download it and use it in this application. And then I had a couple other, we call these base maps, and they're just like the current one we're looking at now. This is a base map, and all it is just a static map, just to kind of give you a sense of where the roads are and the vegetation and other features on there. And then we have a light gray base map, which is just a more simple viewing map that has just grayscale type colors. Some people like to have that in the background versus one that has a lot of different colors and features. They just want it kind of more muted. So this is another way to view it. And then I think this one actually is a little bit different than my base map. So yeah, this is just another one that's similar to the one we have. And then the one that we use now that's just on by default is this one. And this one just comes on when you first start using the application. And so the other set of tools is right here on the left. So I have this little toolbar here on the left, and this is just simply your zooming controls. And so you can also do this if you have a wheel on your mouse. If you use the wheel on your mouse, you could easily zoom in and out on the map. Or another way you can do it is you could use these zoom in buttons or zoom out buttons. And then there's also a full extent button. And what that means is if you click that, it takes you right back to where you started at the very full extent of the county view. And then another nice feature is you can go back to the previous extent. So let's say you zoomed into a parcel here and you're looking at it. And then you went off somewhere else. You can actually go back to that previous one and view it. So if you zoom, you'll search for a parcel, but then you wanted to quickly go back to the previous one, they'll take you back to that view. So it's just another way to just kind of maneuver around on the map. And there's also next extent, which is the other way around. It goes forward. So if you can imagine, it's back and forward for the different views on there. And then we have a little locate me option. This is it's probably more useful for people that live in the county. It will locate you depending on if you're using a mobile device like a iPhone or an iPad or something like that. If you have that, it's going to locate you right on the map. If you're doing it through your desktop computer, it's probably just going to use your IP address and just try to locate you where you're at your house or wherever. But it's usually off if it uses your IP address, could be off a mile or so. But it's just a fun little feature. I don't know how many people really use it, but it's kind of just a fun little feature to locate yourself on the map. And then you can also hide this toolbar if maybe it's blocking something that you're trying to see on the map. You can always just click hide and it'll hide it. And then you can always make it come back if you click show. So it's pretty easy to use. And then we also have a undo button or a back button. So that's another handy button as well. And then we also have another toolbar, this third one here, this yellow one. We have a search, and this is what I was talking about earlier, is we have this quick search button is really the same thing. It just takes you right to search here to this. So if you click search and then search again, it opens up the same window versus if when you click this. So it's the same thing. And this is where you search by an address or a parcel number. And by default, it's set to all fields, but you can choose other layers in here if you're searching for something very particular. Like if you want to know like a particular grade school, if you're searching for like a grade school or a Senate district, or maybe it's a certain park district in the county. So these are other options that can be searched. But by default, I have it set where it just searches anything. So when you type something up, it's going to search everything that's available in the application. So the most common things that people search would be like a parcel number, for example. And so when you type up the parcel number, it uses something called Autocomplete. And what that really just means is it searches the parcel number as you type it. So as I'm typing this number, it's trying to help you locate that parcel you're looking for. And then once you see it, then you can simply click on it and it zooms right to it and highlights it. Depending on your computer resolution, it's either going to come up as like a red boundary highlighted or maybe an orangish boundary highlighted. And then once you zoom to it, you'll see here it's got different labels that are turned on. And so the blue ones are your lot dimensions. The red label here is your parcel number. And then the red dimensions here is the parcel dimension. So you have lot and parcel dimensions, and usually they're the same boundary, but there are cases where the lot boundary is a little bit different. For example, you might have a property that has 2 lots on it, but as a parcel boundary, it's one parcel boundary that's composed of 2 lots. So in that case, you know, it'd be a little bit different, but usually the lot and the parcel boundaries are the same, especially in urban areas. And so when you zoom to the property, you'll see the address here at the top and the parcel number, and then all the information for that property is listed right here in the pop-up window. And so we'll have everything from the parcel number, the owner name, the owner address, the property address, and then also has the tax code. And then I know some people like the assessor's office, they like to use the neighborhood number. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it's something to do. They use that with like assessments. And then we have a brief legal description of the property. And then we have building attributes. And that would be everything from like all the square footage of all the different rooms in the house, in the basement, and the garage. And so we have all that broken down in here. You know, and some of these will be 0 if, you know, if they don't have a attached garage, maybe they have a detached garage. You know, so some of these will be 0. And then yes or no if there's air conditioning, and then it lists the number of bedrooms, fireplaces, and then it goes down into your assessed values. And so it'll list, you know, the value, the assessed value of the land, and then of any of the buildings, and then the total assessed value of everything. And then we have a calculation that automatically is configured in here that gives you the building assessment per square foot. And then of course, it gives you the acres for the property. So it's really handy. And then at the very top, we have hyperlinks that's all tied into this parcel. And this is for this is shown for every parcel that you search. And so if you want to see any kind of photos or sketches, if we do have any that are available, you can just simply click this and it'll give you any photos that we have on it. And let's see, I wonder, see if I can minimize that. So it uses like a little carousel menu. So if you hover over this, on this side, you'll see a little arrow. And if you click that arrow, it'll scroll over to the any other photos or sketches that are available. And so in this case, we have one photo and one sketch of the home. And so it kind of gives you an idea of the blueprints of the home, of, you know, the basement and the finished areas. And I think these are square footages, and just kind of gives you an idea that the assessors in the assessor's office, they go out in the field, you know, when they first go out there and there's a home being built, they'll take the photos, and then any kind of sketch they draw is in, they use a system called ProVal. And so they go in there and they draw out the blueprints into that system, and then we pull it through a script, and then it updates it here for the application so people can see it. And I think you can even click on it too to blow it up. I was thinking there was a way to do it. Maybe there isn't on this one. I know there is another way to do that. I can show you later on that one. Other options is, oh yeah, the property report. Property report's really nice. So if you click on property report, what this does is it creates like a little report that brings everything together. So you have a little map of the property boundary, and it gives you all the main information, the owner name, address, property address, and then a legal, and then all the building attributes. And if you scroll down, it has a picture of the property. And this is where you can click on it, and you can blow it up, and you can see a bigger picture of the house. Let's see. And another nice feature to it as well is you can click this hyperlink called Convert to PDF. And this will convert the report into a PDF for you. And that way you can just, from there, you can just save that PDF on your computer or your device. And then from there, if you need to email it to somebody, you can easily do that. Just attach that PDF to that email. And so this is just another way, you know, to have it, you know, in a different format. And then it has this little QR code symbol. If you've ever used QR codes, what that is it just gives you a link. It's a hyperlink basically tied to this graphic. And so I think that takes us to, it'll take you to the main GIS website. And so we got that in there if you ever use QR codes. It's just another nice little feature. And then the other hyperlink we have is called Community Info, and this is also can be accessed here on this Community Info button. So since we already searched this property, if you hit Community Info, it's going to pull all that information off that property. So any kind of feature that intersects that we have is going to pull that information for it. And so zoning, for example, it'll since we're in the city of Peoria, it's pulling the Peoria zoning, and it'll tell you it's an R3 residential district, single family. So it tells you what type of zoning that is. And then of course it gives you options to zoom to that property. And then we have any kind of election data. It's going to give you, okay, here's the county board district member. So this is where the district that this property falls within. And then same way with the county, the Peoria Council District. And then we have hyperlinks attached to these as well. So if you want to know more about Robert Renew, County Board District member, you can click on that hyperlink and it'll directly take you to his page. And then you could read more about his contact information and about the committees that he serves. And then we also have a PDF map too that covers his boundary, and it explains the boundary here. And then just simply clicking on it, it'll open up the PDF of his district boundary. Other features we have, this just tells you the municipality that you're in. So if this is in a municipality, it's going to tell you. This case is Peoria. If we're out in the country and there's no municipality, it's just going to say unavailable. So you could see that. And then parcel information, I just noticed this today. I don't have, for some reason, it's not pulling the tax districts on here. So they're all come up as not available. So that's something I'm going to have to look into. But this should say any kind of tax district that overlays the property. It should give you the name if there is a tax district there. Some cases it will be unavailable. For example, the cemetery district, there's only one in the county out. I think that's on the western part of the county. So that one's usually going to come up as not available for a lot of properties. And so anyways, with parcel information, this would give you the tax districts, the parcel number, and the property address. And then land information, this is probably more maybe on the engineering, farming side. This gives you more of the boundaries, public land survey boundaries. So it would give you the township that the property is within, the section, quarter section. And some people do, believe it or not, like to use quarter sections. So it lists, so I put that in there and it gives you that as well, where it falls. And then soil types. And, you know, a surveyor, some surveyors are interested in the elevations. And so we provide the elevation information that's nearest to that property right here. So that's just kind of a short way to find community info. And of course, you can always print this too. So as long as you have these open, if there's like any of this that you want to print, you can just hit this print button. And from there, you can print it to paper or PDF. And this little map button here, I think it's just really a minimize button. So it just takes you back and forth. If you wanted to minimize it to see the map, you can just simply click the map button. And of course, this back button will take you back when you're doing those types of views. So that's also handy. Next part is the sales search. I know a lot of people, assessor's office uses it quite a bit. And so the sales search is if you want to find sales comparables. And so we use sales comparables over the past 5 years, and they're only valid sales. And so what it does is it grabs that property that we searched, it grabs the closest comparable properties, and then and it just fills that all in for you. And of course, you could always change this to your needs, any of these settings. And then you can also change your sale date if you're looking for different date. You can easily change that. And it's just simply clicking on the little calendar symbol and then choosing that day. And then you can also draw an area. So it's just the way it is, way it sounds. You just click that button, draw an area that you're interested in, and it'll try to pull that information. And a region is kind of a similar way. I think that uses subdivisions. You can click on that area and it'll try to pull that information as well for you. And then single family is set by default, and you can also search by condo or multifamily. And then I think everything's approved. Yeah, so it's all improved properties that we have available for searching. So in this case, we're just going to keep all the default settings. And if you go to details, this is the list of, it gives you the top 3 properties that are comparable to this property. And it gives them like a little checkbox. And then of course you can go through these other ones. These other ones are similar. And you could always add those in there if you want to, just by simply clicking on it, and it puts a check mark on it. And you can even zoom to these individual properties as well if you want to see them. And then once you're ready, and it shows here too, it shows you there's 33 total that it found. And it shows 1 through 10 at a time. So you can just click next and it'll show the next 10, and then next again to see the rest of them. And so once you're done, then you could either clear it if you wanted to start over, or you can view. Table view is kind of nice if you want to see like a tabular view. That's another way to view the data. A really nice way is the report. So if you click on report, this gives you a nice report view of everything. And so you can see your subject property that we searched, and then the 3 comparables, and you can, it brings all that information together so you can compare it. And you can easily print it just by simply right clicking on your screen. I know also in Google, if you use Google Chrome, there is a way when you print, it gives you the option to save that document or that page as a PDF document. So that's another way to do it. And there's also an export option. So this is kind of nice if you just want to have a spreadsheet of it. And so when you click export, it downloads it as a CSV file. And that's a file that you can open up in Microsoft Excel. And then so all those properties that it pulled up, it lists it here. And then from here, you can easily save it as an Excel file if you want to. You can just simply go to File, Save As, save it as an Excel file. But it brings all the information here for you if you wanted it in a more of a spreadsheet format. And of course, the map button here just minimizes it. That's all that really does. So that's kind of just a brief explanation of the sales. So going back to that property, there's also sales history. And sometimes, if there's no sales history in that 5-year window, it's just going to say no records found because there was no sales found within that 5-year time frame. So in some cases you may, and it just depends. If there's no sales in that time frame, it's either going to come up with no records, and if there is at least 1 sale in that time frame, you'll see some information there. And then owner history is kind of the same way. It's very similar. This pulls up all the owners, and I can't remember how far back that goes.
Yes, honey.
Maybe it goes the past 10 years, I think. Oh, no, it looks like
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this just goes as far back as what we have in our system.
All right.
But
Josh, I'm gonna mute you for stop. Just say if you're unmuted, please make sure you mute yourself. Thank you.
All right. So in this case, our system goes back all the way to 1998. And as you can see on this property, it goes all the way to 1998. And what this lists is by year, who the owners were by year. And so I think it's just owner. Yeah, it's just owner, parcel ID, the tax year, and tax bill. Yeah, means that they pay the tax bill. So it just gives you a little brief description of the owner information there by year. We also have something called text information. And I'm sure you're familiar with this one. This takes you right to the assessor's office maintains this page. It's their property tax information page. And it has a lot of the same information we have. Plus, it has some additional things such as like tax exemptions. And I think it gives you, it gives you the levels of assessments that they do. So there is a little bit more detailed info in here. And it gives you the same photos of the property, which is nice too. So this is just another resource, has a little bit additional information on the property. And so I thought that was important to add into the application. And recorder information, I thought this was really handy to add. This one, if you're not registered with a paid account, you can use the public login. I know on this site you can do searches for free, but if you want to do any kind of printing, that's when you have to have a subscription and pay for any kind of printing of the subdivision plats and deeds and things like that. And so if you click the public login, you can at least go in and view it. And so this is tied to that parcel number that we saw on the map. And so you can view any kind of the recorded documents for it, whether it's a deed or a paid mortgage or a subdivision plat. So that's kind of another nice resource if you're trying to do any kind of deed research on the property. And then Map Links is just another additional nice visual tool. And so where this takes you is it gives you, it takes you right to the Bing Maps web map. And I thought it'd be another nice resource if you want to see a different view, aerial view of the property. And so it automatically takes you to that area. And then I believe this is set up to a bird's eye view. And what a bird's eye view is, it gives you kind of that view of like if a bird or a plane was in the air and you're looking down and you're seeing like this angled view of the house or in the buildings. And so this is just another nice way of viewing that, because the aerials that we have on our application, it's like you're looking down on top of the roof. So you're not seeing any of the, I guess, the 3D features of the property. You're not seeing the sides of the building, you know, the front of the house or anything like that. So this gives you a nice, another perspective of the buildings. And so you can zoom in and out and see that. And so I thought that'd be kind of another handy way of visualizing the buildings. And of course, the property here, you can download the information similar to that report that I showed earlier, where you can download a CSV file that can be opened up in Microsoft Excel that has information on that property. You have the table view, which was kind of the same thing. You can see it in the tabular form. And of course, you can clear the property and start over. And then you can search different properties that way. And then another nice feature too is that there's something called history. So if you searched a bunch of properties, let's say today, and you wanted to go back to a specific property that you were looking at earlier, you can click this history and then click on that property and it'll take you back to it. So that's kind of a nice feature. And there's also something here with, these are different selection options. These are also really handy. So this property that we searched, it highlighted as red. And right now we're set at new selection. So that what that means is when you do a parcel or an address search, it selects that property boundary as a new selection. So let's say you want to search two properties that are next to each other, but you're not sure where at they're adjacent to each other. You can click something called Add To, and if you happen to know what that address or parcel number is, you can add it right to that. So let's see, I'm trying to think of a good one. Let's see if I can just do something like this here. So, so let's say I want to add this, I'm searching this property and I want to add it to this one. So that way I have them both highlighted. You would click the Add To, type up the parcel number, for example, hit search. Oh, did it add it? Oh, maybe I selected the same one, I wonder. There we go. So if you, so in this case, you can add additional properties to the selection. So if you keep typing up different properties and you hit search and use add to, it keeps adding them as a highlighted selection in your list. And so in details, you'll see them listed here. And you can click that plus symbol and it'll give you all the information in here of that property for each one. And then the nice thing is too, you can click that CSV button, download a CSV file for Excel, and you can view that property information for both of them that were selected. And of course, you can view the table view of that. You can clear it to start over, or you can zoom. You can even zoom to all those properties that are highlighted if you click the zoom all button. And of course, remove from is another option. So let's say you want to remove a property that's selected. We can do this one as an example. And if you hit search, now unselected it. And now you just have this one left. So it's just another way of, it's really just different ways of selecting the parcels on the map. And so that's really how you use the search tool. And then the identify tool, one that I mentioned earlier, this one's pretty easy to use. If you just click the identify button, click right on that parcel, for example, it will automatically bring up that information for that property. So if you don't know, that'd be a good case would be if you don't know the parcel number or address, but you know, okay, this is the property that I want to see information on. You can just simply click the identify tool, click on that property, and they'll bring up that info for you. And then Street View that I mentioned earlier, that's your Google view. So if you click that button and then click near the street, it'll give you, I don't know why it's coming up that way. It looks like it's changed on me, but this is typically what it looks like, except the weird colors, but you'll usually just see the street view of that property. So you can scroll. If you've ever used Google Street View, you can use these arrows and scroll through the neighborhood and kind of see like on the ground view of what that property and the buildings and everything looks like. So it's very, very handy. And then it gives you a little map down here of where that property is. And then you can also click a large view to view a blown up map of that. So it's just another nice visual way of seeing that property. And the community info, that was the one we explained earlier, just by simply clicking on the property. It gives you that information, the zoning and the election information, parcel information. And then the next one is map layers. And as I mentioned earlier, when you click map layers, these are all, if you can imagine, these are all like folders. And I broke them down by a category. So when you click on a particular folder, so land records, for example, if I click on that, that lists all this shows you all the different layers are in that folder. And so this one's all land record related data. And so the ones that have a checkbox in them just means, okay, it's turned on in the map. You can see that in the map. Anything that doesn't have a checkbox means it's not turned on in the map. So for example, this case here, we got parcel boundaries turned on, and that's your red boundaries right here. If we uncheck that just by clicking on it, it turns it right off. And then if you click in that box again and turn it back on, then it turns it all back on in the map for you. And so we got a whole bunch of different layers in here that you can view. You can view anything from contour lines to cadastral boundaries, which is you can
Fill out your
view
earnest money
the
receipt.
lot boundaries,
As if it was a listing.
parcel subdivision boundaries, things like that. We have section boundaries, and then tax district boundaries, municipal boundaries. So there's a whole bunch of different layers in there that you can turn on and off to see on the map here. And there's a little on button here as well. This is like the main on off button for that whole folder, if that makes sense. So right now it's just set at default to be on. And so if I click on it, it'll go to off, meaning it just turns them all off. But I don't think most people probably aren't going to use it. But it's just another handy way of maneuvering around and viewing those different layers on the map.
Josh, this is Cheryl. While you're there, can you show the zoning, not the zoning, yeah, I think it's zoning for Peoria City and Peoria County that's there.
Oh, sure. Yep. So I do have two layers in here. One is City of Peoria zoning layer, and then we also have a Peoria County zoning layer. And so we both have our own zoning departments. And so the City of Peoria shares their zoning with us. And so I have that. So if you simply just click on it, I'm not sure if we're still in Peoria. Yeah,
No,
I think
we're
we're
in
in
county.
Bartonville. So in this case, so here, this is another good example. So, okay, in this case, I have too many different layers turned on. And so you can easily turn those off. We can just turn off the subdivisions. And what else do I have on there? You could even just turn this off. I think that was turned on to get what you want to see in the map. I think we got parcel boundaries turned on. So in this case, you can see, say, Peoria zoning. So they have a lot of different colors for their zoning. So I have oranges, we got some hatches. And so you would just use your identify tool to find out what type of zoning it is. So if you click identify, click on that property, it's going to give you the parcel number, the zoning classification, description, and any other information that's tied to it. And then if you want to know, okay, what are all the colors? What do all these colors mean? There is also a legend. And let's see, I think that was right here. So if you click on maps, legend, it's going to give you a legend that tells you, a legend key that tells you what each colored symbol means for that zoning. And in City of Peoria's case, they have a lot of different types of zoning. So I don't know how many that is, 20 or 30 classifications there. So this is really handy to see a legend to say, okay, that's what that means. But so that's a nice key there that you can use for any of the layers in this application, or you can just simply, use the identify tool, and then you'll see right here as well what zoning classification it is.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem. And then the county zoning, of course, you would, if we go back in there, turn the City of Peoria off, and then we'll turn on the county zoning. You'll see where the county zoning stops at the cities. And they have their own colors and symbology for that as well. And then same thing, you just click the identify tool and then click on the map. And you'll see, I think in this case, this uses the, this gives you the classification. It's an R2. And then, I don't know why I show this, but this is just one of the one of the zoning staff that goes out there and does those classifications and things out there. Serves that area. So we'll turn that off and we'll turn parcels back on. So this is just kind of a brief overview of the land records folder. I can briefly describe the other ones. Administrative is more administrative stuff, boundaries. So that would be everything from subdivisions and associations, and legal boundaries such as like city, I think this one's the legal, this is the legal Peoria County boundary. And then we have municipal boundaries that you can view. And then we have some of the enterprise zones, like the rural enterprise zone and the latest Peoria urban enterprise zones. And then a few years back, we created for realtors, we created a real estate areas map. And it breaks down by those real estate areas. I don't know if anybody's used it or not.
We don't even have that in our MLS anymore.
Oh, you don't? Okay. So it's not used anymore.
Some older, seasoned agent who not older, maybe used to what those maps used to be, but they've been eliminated.
Oh, okay. So that was something we created. I can't remember, maybe three to 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we thought that would be helpful. And then elections, of course, this is all the election related boundaries. We have everything from polling places to Senate districts, House districts, county board districts, judicial districts. So you can view any of those boundaries. And you can search them also through the search tool, or you can use Identify and just simply click on it. And then you can pull that information. And a lot of these have hyperlinks to the members' website. So that way, if you click that hyperlink in blue, it'll take you right to their webpage where you can read more about that politician.
Great.
And so that's the elections. Turn that one off. And then text districts, of course, these are all your text districts broken out one by one. So we have all the fire protection districts, the library, school, park. And so this is kind of what a lot of, what they would look like. It has them all broken down out by color. And if you ever needed to know, what district, what district that property falls within. And then you can use the Identify tool to find a little bit more information about it, tax year, the name of the district, and the unit code that goes with that. And then we got a text code layer that has every text code boundary. And then we have tax year parcels from previous tax year, and then we have different text code rates. I know a lot of people like to see that too, to see what the text code rates were for the previous year. And so it gives you kind of a colored map by rate. And of course, the darker the color, the higher the tax rate. So maybe that one's not set up. Let's see. So in this case here, this area in the city of Peoria, this gives you all the tax rate information along with the tax districts that fall within it. So some people like to use that to see what their tax rate is in their area. And then community has like a variety. I create these little subcategories. And so it has a variety of community related things. So it has labels that you can turn on and off for the roads, places of interest. I think these were like parks, and unfortunately it came kind of weird here where it tells you what the colors are. I don't think there was any easy way to change that, but it just gives you like places of interest like parks and I think malls and other features in the map that you can view. And they're just labels. They're only labels for those areas. And then historical, we have the City of Peoria historic districts. So these are the historic district boundaries in the city. Public safety, we have this is data that we have from the county. And I think the fire station one might be from the city as well, if I can remember right. But it gives you point locations of their little fire truck symbols for the point locations of all the fire stations. And then ambulance response areas. And then we have a few recreation related layers, such as trails, streams. And then we have water bodies, which is just like lakes and rivers. And then public areas like parks and things like that. Transportation, this is all our road layers. So we have a road centerline layer, railroads, road services is kind of nice if you want to know, for example, who plows your road. You can find out who, is it Peoria County that maintains your road, or if it's a city, it'll give you that information. And then mile markers, if you want to know what the mile markers are for like a highway, it gives you that by their little point symbols for each mile marker. And then street intersections, this has all the street intersection names. If you ever wanted to know particular looking for a particular street intersection. Utilities, we have some data that the Greater Peoria Sanitary District shares with us. And so we have the manholes, mains, and their district boundary in the Peoria area right there. So some people like to see those types of utilities on the map for their work. And then of course, property sales is another folder we have. And we have different layers for by year for the sales. So the latest one we got is the 2019 sales. And if you ever see a layer grayed out on here, that just means you're zoomed out too far. It's just a scale setting. And the reason we do that is because if you're zoomed in and it's trying to draw a whole bunch of features, it can kind of slow down our system. It just starts using more hardware resources. So the workaround is to just have the scaling come up when you zoom closer, and that doesn't have to work as hard, if that makes sense. And so as you zoom in, you'll see now these are they're not grayed out anymore, and now you can view it. So if you click on 2019 sales, you can see all these little point symbols of all the different sales that have occurred in that year. And then of course you can just use your identify tool, click on that point. And then if you click details, it'll give you, I think this is just the short view of it. But if you want to see the full detailed view, you just click details, and it gives you your parcel number and all the, the building attribute information, such as square footage and your assessed value information. And then you can also do a property report from that, or view the sales history on that. So that's pretty handy. And then of course, these are photos. So for zoomed in here, you click on button here, you'll turn on the aerial photo. And then this is what I mentioned earlier, these types of photos, you're just viewing, it's like you're in a plane, you're just looking straight down on the building. They're not obliques, which are your angled viewing, like you're flying in the air and you're seeing an angled view of the building. It's just, in this case, you're just looking down on it, but it's still really handy. You can see a lot of detail. These are 6-inch resolution. So you can see pretty good detail of the vehicles and, the buildings and even the parking lots. You can pick out the lines pretty well on there. So it's pretty handy. And then of course, we have some different years on here that you can view. If you wanted to see an older version, of a property to see what it looked like before the house was there or something like that, it's always handy to have historical photos. And then these are those other base maps I mentioned earlier. Another really nice tool is the clear tool. So that will start over for you if you wanted to clear everything. This is a really nice tool here, this button called Save Layer Settings. So let's say when you first come into the front desk app, you don't like all this different stuff turned on in there. So what you can do is preset the layers that you want to see. So that way, every time you come into the front desk application, if you only want to see parcel boundaries and lot boundaries, then you would just check those boxes. And once you're done checking those boxes and have it the way you want it, then you just click Save Layer Settings. And what that does is it saves, I think it saves it as cookies on your browser. And so next time you open up your browser, so maybe like it's tomorrow and you come in here, it's going to remember when you open it up that those are the layers that you turned on are just going to come up. So if I had like, let's see, I'm trying to think, spot elevations, for example. So if I did that and then I hit save layer settings, when you open it up next time, it's going to come right up and you'll see that on there. So it's kind of a nice little shortcut instead of having to turn on and off all these layers when you first open it every time. So print is another nice function. So if you click the print button here, this allows you to print either by paper, or you can print, if you click print, that prints to paper. This will print to a PDF document that you can save, and this one prints to a JPEG image that you can save. And of course, these, you can email them, save them. So that's really handy. You can put in a title for your, for your map. So if we just type Peoria County, you can choose your map scale. It really just affects how you zoom in and out of that property. So you choose which one that you want to use. And then this little box here, this either comes up as yellow or orange on your screen. That's your print area box. So you want to make sure that your property is in that box and that's what you're looking for, is that size and shape. And then of course you can adjust your paper size. We got letter and tabloid available. And then of course you can change the orientation, landscape or portrait. And then it has a data table option. And so what data table is that is your property information that you viewed when we searched. And so if you want that information in there with the map, you would leave that checked. If you don't want it, then you can simply just uncheck that. And so by default, it's only available for printing to paper. But if you use Google Chrome, you can use this and just export it through Google Chrome as a PDF, and it'll have that information on there for you. But if you uncheck it, then you can just have this, just gives you the map. So if we click create PDF document, for example, it's going to start working on creating that PDF for you. I think it usually takes 20-30 seconds. And then once it's done, you'll see this is the title we put in there. It gives you the date by default. And then also by default, it gives you your scale. And then we have a little disclaimer on here, and then it has a QR code to the website. And so, and then it shows your property on there. So it's pretty nice. It's a nice little feature. And then of course, search. I can briefly go through these. We have something called Select on Map. This is very similar to what we did earlier. Like you have, when we went into search here, there's, as I mentioned earlier, there's different ways you can select the property. And so when you go to search and select on map, this is an option that allows you to select the property on the map. So maybe you know the area where the property is, but you don't know what the address is or the parcel number. So you zoom on the map to that property, to that area where you think it is. And then from there, you can kind of choose, you can do different selections. And these are just different ways to select. And it gives you what layer you want to select. So by default, it selects parcels, but you can also choose something else if you want to select, tax rate boundary or a tax district boundary or anything like that. But most people are probably going to use the parcel one. So I had that set to default. So, so these are different ways you can highlight them or select them. So if we use point, for example, because we're using new selection, if I click here on the map, it's going to use a point way of selecting it. So each time I click on the map, it's just going to select that parcel using a point. Line is really handy, and this is exactly what it sounds like. You click line and you draw a line. You're basically just using a line that you draw to select those properties. So let's say you want to select all these properties, you can just use the line tool. Click once on the map and then double click the finish, and then it selects all those properties right there for you. And the nice thing is once it selects it, you'll see all the properties here. And then from there, you can always export it out to an Excel file where you can use that and save that on your computer. You can zoom to all of them. You can start over by hitting clear. You can also draw a shape, which is kind of nice. So if you want to draw a big shape of a big area, you can just do the same thing here. Just left click and just keep left clicking to make each side. And then when you're done, you just double click. And it tells you too, you'll see there that it tells you how to do it as you draw it. And then once it's done, it'll for that area, it selects everything in that area that you drew. And then it lists it all here. And then you can go through it all. You can click the plus sign to view them. You can click next to view the next set. And then you can use the current view. So that would select everything on your screen. Or you can select everything, which most people probably won't use because it would select, I think that selects everything on the whole map in the county. Another nice feature is, let's see if I can clear this. Another nice feature is add a buffer with distance. So let's say you want to select properties using a buffer. So if you check the box here, and what this number is the buffer distance that you want to use using feet. So in this case, this means by default it's set to 100 feet, 100-foot buffer. So if we click the point button and then click on the property, it selects all properties, everything. Using that point I clicked on the map, it creates a 100-foot buffer and it selects everything in that 100-foot buffer in that area. And so when I clicked on there, it selected everything in that buffer. So let's say if I want to make that 500 feet, and we'll start over and we'll click on this one. You'll see how that creates that buffer. You'll see it really quick, how big it is. And if we zoom out, you can see that it selected all those in that 500-foot buffer based on that click. So that's just another way to do it for selecting. And then we'll see, go back and clear that. And let's see, I think this one, select that one. So let's say you have a parcel selected. This is another way to select parcels. It's called select nearby features within. And again, this is your buffer distance in feet, and it's set to 100 feet. So let's do 500 feet again. And what this does is it uses the boundaries of the parcel. So it's a little bit different than this one. This one's based off the point you click, that point that you click on the map. This one's based off the boundaries of the parcel. So using the boundaries of this parcel that's selected, and it has to be selected first. You type in the buffer you want to use. So in this case, we did 500 feet. It's going to do a 500-foot buffer around this boundary to select everything around that. So if we click, punch in 500 and then click this button, it's going to select everything 500 feet from that boundary. So it's a little bit different of a selection than the other one. So that's just another different way to do it. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can do add to if you want to add more parcels to that selection. So let's say this is what you want for your selection, but you want to add, these two parcels here. You can use line, you can use shape, point, click add to add them. And in this case, we're going to use a line, and you just left click, double click to finish. You can see here it added those two in the selection. And let's say you want to remove a parcel out of there. Let's say it's one parcel, you can just use the point. Click remove from, click on it. It unselects that in the selection. So now it won't be listed in here anymore. So it's really nice to, just a nice feature. And then you can, of course, you can zoom to any of these parcels that are selected individually. And then you can download it as an Excel file. Advanced search, I haven't used this one a whole lot, but it's just exactly what it sounds like. It's just additional advanced searching for parcels or any other features in the map. These are some other layers that you can search in there. I won't go into it a whole lot, but it's the same idea. You would just different selections. You'd use these same types of selections to select the properties. You can search by these different columns. You can search by parcel ID, or if it's an owner name, address, you can search in there that way. And it's just another way of searching to find more of a detailed search to find properties. And the sales search, this is just another way to get to the sales search tool. And in this case, you would just mainly put in your information that you're searching for a property. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can access that search tool. When you search, you can access it here as well. So that's another way to get to it. So that's everything in the search part, search tool. In the maps tool, we have a bunch of other different things in here. I could briefly go through those. We have something called map themes. And all they really are just little themes. So if you're looking for a particular theme. So if it's more like if you're just looking for election data, if you click the elections theme, it's going to turn on the election layers on the map. If by default, it's set to parcels more for searching properties. But if you wanted to search more education type stuff or elections, for example, when you click on any of these, it'll turn on those types of layers on the map for you. So it's just another way to view the data on there. And then this is this is another way of getting to those base maps that we talked about earlier that were in map layers. It's just another different way to get to them. So these are all your different photos. If you click 2019 photos, for example, it's going to turn that on. So just another way to get to those. This is another place to get to the map layers button. So there's the map layers button there. You can click it there. Thematic Maps, I think that's more of this is kind of neat. Yeah, this one you can view kind of like a graduated, like a choropleth type map of properties, for example. So in this, it's set to parcels by default, and you can choose, excuse me, I'm gonna get a drink of water real quick. So this one's themed by, you can choose different themes here. So in this case, total assessed value. And so what this does is it gives you kind of like a color graduation by total assessed value in this example. And so the darkest value is your high values, and then your lowest values would be the light blue. And so it just gives you kind of a view of that neighborhood where the highest total assessed value properties are. So it's just another way to visualize it on a map. And so total assessed value is just one example of many ways to view it. And of course, you can change the opacity, which is as you move it along, you can see, okay, the higher the opacity, the darker the color is going to be. And as you move it to the left, it becomes more dim, and you can basically fade it away to nothing once you get down to 0. But it's just a way to view. If you want to view other layers with it, you can adjust that opacity. Of course, you can adjust your classes in here. It's set to 5 for the colors. You can change any of those. You can change color. You can change your methods of viewing those colors. So different ways to view that information. So it's another little handy tool. Legend, again, this is a legend of the features of what all the features for all the layers are turned on in the map. So any layer that's turned on in the map, you'll see the features in the legend in here, and it just gives you more of an idea what the symbols mean. Overview map is kind of nice. So this is just a little overview map showing kind of a county-wide view of where you're located in the county. And so this little red box here shows us where we're at in the county. And of course, you can always minimize that too. If you click this little yellow arrow, you can minimize it. It's always here by default too. So by default, it's closed. But if you click that little yellow arrow, it will always come up and show you that little red box where you're at in the county. So it's kind of nice feature there. Bookmarks are really handy if there's particular areas in the county that you go to often. These are really nice. I have the coordinates for all of these towns and cities, parks, other places such as the county courthouse or the Caterpillar's Visitor Center. So we have coordinates for all these. So if you click on any of these, if you want to go to Brimfield, for example, if you just click that, it's just a little shortcut bookmark that takes you right to it. So if you want to go to Glassford, you just click that and it takes you right to Glassford. So it's kind of nice, nice little feature. And you can always add those too. If you want to add your own custom bookmark, you can just, if you're already zoomed to that area, and once you're zoomed to that area that you like, you would just simply type a name for it and then add it. And then next time you open up your map, you can use that. So it's pretty nice. This is another way to get to print, but your print button's also here as well. And then tools. This is another place to get to the identify button here. Community information, this is just another way to get to that button, and same with the street view. These other three tools are some really nice ones too. So I know some people, they like to draw on the map. And this is really handy if you want to, if you like to draw, whether it's drawing a boundary or something on there, you can do anything, any kind of drawing you want on here. You can put a point on here, and you can choose what color you want to use, what kind of symbol you want to use on there. You can choose the size of it. And then once you left click, it'll add those right there on the map. It has a clear button, an undo. I can't remember what the stop button does, but you can undo it if you don't like it, or if you want to remove everything and start over, you can just hit the clear button. You can also add text. There's different colors that you can use for the text. You can change the font. You can change the size of the text. And then you just simply left click on the map. And I guess I probably should have typed up a name on there. Yeah, you type the name in first. and then you just left click on the map. It'll add that text on there for you. And then it has some other options too, like some additional symbols if you want those added in there. You can do a quick shape, and you can change the opacity. You can set the opacity, the color, the size of it. And then if you left click and hold, you can draw a shape right on there. And of course you can draw lines, you can put points on there. Another cool thing is you can actually print it. So if you want to print this, let's see. Oh, that went pretty far out. So if you want to print that, for example, you click JPEG for as an example to download as a JPEG. It should come up on there for you. And again, this usually takes 20, 30 seconds, I think, usually, to create that image. And so here's your property, and then here's everything that you drew in there. So it's just another nice way to show things. And so we'll go back to tools, and you can clear it to start over. Another nice one is the measure tool. And I know our planners in the zoning department like to use it, and I know the assessors use it as well. They like to get little quick measurements of the buildings. And so you can do measurements by area, length, or you can get coordinates as well. You can search or get coordinates. So in this case, this first tool here is your area tool. If you click that, and let's say you want to know, you want to measure like the area of that. And as you left click and you just left click once, and then you just drag your mouse over, it'll tell you the length of that building by feet. And if we're drawing this building, for example, let's trace it. So if we trace this building, you just left click each corner, and it gives you the dimensions as you do that in feet. And then you just double click to finish, and it gives you your dimensions by feet that you drew. And then it gives you your acres as well. So it's kind of a nice feature if you just want a rough sketch of the property, if you can't find anything on it and you just need a rough number, it'll do that for you. Of course, you can print this too and have that on your own printed out map. Another nice one is your length. So if you just want to simply get a length of this building, you can just left click, drag, double click. It gives you the total length of that. Because yeah, I think you can also do length of, yeah, if you did two sides, it gives you the total feet of both sides, and then it breaks it down for each side for you in feet. So that's another nice one. And then here's coordinates. Oh yeah, one thing I did forget to measure it or mention is You can turn off the labels. If you don't want the labels, you can always turn that off. Another one is coordinate. So this is by just clicking a point on the map, and it gives you the coordinates based on that point right on the map. And so you can choose, and it tells you right here as well. So it gives you the label, but it also tells you here the latitude, longitude, for example. And then you can choose too as well what you want. If you want the coordinates in degrees or degrees, minutes, seconds. And then you can turn that label on and off. And then there's also additional ways to view it as well. If you want decimal minutes, seconds, decimal degrees, and then XY map units, which is our state plane feet coordinate system that we use. So this is more of something probably, I know a lot of engineers and surveyors use this type of information. And then if you happen to know the coordinate, you can also plug that coordinate in here and it'll zoom to that point right on the map for you. So that's another way to, to do that. So you might know the coordinate, but you don't know where the property is. You can just plug in that coordinate, zoom right to that property. And then lastly, we have the More button. And so this is just some additional things we have. We have a little sign in button. This is for usually just local government staff, City of Peoria and the county. They have some internal layers that they don't want the public to see. So we have a login for them to log into that, to see those layers. We have a little help website that explains more about the tools. You click that, it gives you a nice guide with some graphics of how to use those tools and how to navigate around the application. And then we have, this is really nice. Let's see, I think this after we search the property. So if we search the property here, you can go to the More button, choose Create Map Link. So when you click Create Map Link, developers might like this one here. This is called to embed in a website. So this is where you can grab some code. And if you're a developer, you can put this into your own website and it'll display it. The property is like like as a little map on their website. But this one I think is even more handy because you can grab this link here. This will take you directly to the parcel. So let's say you're on the phone with somebody about a particular property. You could just select this using your mouse, right click, copy, and then you could put that into an email message, paste that in there as a hyperlink in an email message, send that to your client, and they can click on that hyperlink and it'll take them directly to this property. So it's kind of a nice way to just like if you're talking to somebody or something, you're trying to explain the boundaries, you can easily just grab this, copy paste it right into an email and share that with them. We also have additional map links. This is we did talk about this earlier. There was another link to it, but this is the same thing. It just gives you a Google Maps view or Bing Maps view of the property. It's just another way of seeing it a little bit differently on a map. And then contact us. This is just, I don't know if it's set up on my computer or not, but if you click this, it will generate an email to contact us. So if you have a question, any kind of question where you need some help, you just click this link and it automatically will open up an email with our email address on there. So that way you can send us a question on something. So that's one way to reach out to us. We also have some hyperlinks here that this one goes to the main Peoria County website. This one goes to the main GIS website, and then this takes you to Supervisor Assessment's assessment complaint form webpage. That was something we added. The assessor's office wanted. A lot of people like to be able to look at their properties, print off their comparable report, and then click on the complaint form if there's something that they want. If they have any questions on their assessments, they can fill that out and meet with the assessor's office. Other than that, that pretty much wraps up everything of the front desk. I think we got a few more minutes, I think, for any questions.
Hey, Josh, I just wanted to, I think that probably some of us as real estate agents kind of would like to look at more of that information on, and I didn't mean to, I just wanted to catch you before we got over with this.
Oh, sure.
When we're looking at a piece of property and we're looking at that recorded information, can you go through that a little bit more? So I think that's kind of nice to have as a real estate agent, that you can go back in there and look on how some things are held as deed. Like click on something so we can show it, if you could.
Sure, yeah, I can try to, and let me know if I don't explain it right, but I'll try
That's
to.
okay. I just, I just think, I think that's one of the things that I like. Sometimes I go to look at it, and this way you can kind of see, you know, somebody says, oh, I bought this house in what year? You can go back and kind of see what their loan was, what,
Oh, okay,
what
yep.
how they're holding deed, and it's in the it's in the recorded information.
Yeah, exactly, yep. So, okay, yeah, I'll definitely go into that. So here we searched this property, it's highlighted, and then we have all the information on that property. And then you have this link here called Recorder Information. When you click on that, they'll take you right to Recorder's website. I think they call this Eagle. And this will take you right directly to.
So show them how you click on it, and then you can go to the piece of paper to the left.
Oh, you mean just clicking on the document?
Click on that, and then when it shows it.
Okay, yep.
Over here over here. You can't see my finger, can you? I'm pointing to the screen.
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't see it.
Over there where it says preview documents.
Review documents.
To your left.
Oh, okay.
County
Yep.
clerk.
I see it now.
Under Rachel's name.
Yeah, so this is the county clerk's page. So another way to access this is if you went to the county clerk website and you looked for recorder documents. Can't remember what they call it. I think they call it land record documents or something like that. But that's just another way to get to it. So we have that link to that, and that's this site here. And so once you click on what we did earlier, we clicked on that document, this release mortgage for this property, and it lists you all that information. And then here on the left, if there's any documents attached to it, you would see it here. And this example here, we have a TIF document. If you click on that, it simply opens it up for you. And then from there, you can zoom in, zoom out. Looks like they allow you to download it. I know there's like a subscription they have for this. I'm not sure what all that entails. You'd have to call the county clerk's office if you want to do a paid subscription. But I think that has something to do with their printing. I think you can only print so much through the free portion of that. So anyways,
Cheryl, did you know you could do this part?
No, that's new to me, of looking at the actual document. It's cool.
Yeah. So sometimes it helps too, because somebody will say, oh, I'm holding title one way, and you can go on here and find it how it really is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's other parcels. Any parcels that are tied to it. Where it says GIS here, they'll take you back to the map. So if you see any of these parcels you want to look at, you can just click on it. And I believe it should take you to front desk. I thought it did.
Whoops.
Let's see. Maybe I have to click the GIS button. There we go. So if you click on GIS, and they'll take you to the parcel if it still exists. In this case, it doesn't. And I'm wondering if maybe it was retired. We do have some parcels that are retired. So like if they do a parcel split, let's say the owner wants to split their property into 2 parcels. Well, that old parcel number gets retired, and then it becomes 2 new parcel numbers. So in this case, I bet that's probably what happened here. But if it's a live parcel, it's going to zoom to it on the map. If it's not, you'll get this error message saying no features found. So that can happen.
Yeah, and another thing that I've had some people that do real estate that know that I work for the elections will call me and say, hey, Debbie, my tax bill says, like, go back to, if you could go back to an address, let's do that 3908 Blue Ridge.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because sometimes your tax bill is being sent to a different address. Like say you have several pieces of property And so if you go, when you go into this 3908, you'll see it here. Okay, so this 3908, if you look at the,
Oh, whoops.
You had
Sorry.
it pulled up.
Get that up for you.
you're in the map layer. We don't need to be
There
in
you
the
go.
map. Let's just look at their detail. Okay. So when you go down, if you look, you guys, on owner address is Main Street, or I mean, is Adams Street, but the property address is down there.
Yep.
So sometimes people go, well, I get a tax bill, but, you know, or maybe they rent or something, or their tax bill goes somewhere else. Sometimes you have to check those on that left-hand side to make sure that the owner, because maybe the owner says he lives in this house, but his tax bill's going somewhere else, or vice versa, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that I always kind of keep an eye on too.
Yeah.
And
If,
Debbie and Josh, I've also caught this with people who they bought the house, they still own the other one, they moved, and the tax bill's still going to an old address, and they never got their owner occupied exemption. I found one that happened for 6 years because they never recorded it right.
Yeah.
yeah, this is a good place to watch for that. Or two, sometimes, and Josh and I have looked up addresses that people think they live at 5912 South Adams Street, when really, and it'll say their address one number, but their property number is a different number, and it might be one number off. A lot of times, I don't know how many people have run into that people don't really know their house number sometimes because they've been getting their mail there for years at 123 Main Street and didn't realize there was an apartment there or something.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, is there anything else that you can think of that while you were in this?
No, let me see. Does anybody else have any questions that you can ask real quickly? I'll change my view here real quick to everybody. Not seeing anybody yet. I think you're very thorough, and we definitely appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. Glad to help. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or call. Be glad to help.
And you guys, I work with this all the time with the county. So if you ever want to call me and ask me, I can always walk you through it too. I'm not as good as Josh, but I do know my way around it.
Be careful what you ask for, Debbie.
I know.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Josh.